There's one SpongeBob episode that messed with your brain more than you can remember. And no, it's not the Splinter or the one where he dates a sandwich. It's one that hides behind something cute and soft and a little too comforting. Because modern SpongeBob loves to get nasty, right? But this episode, it takes all that chaos and pain and turns it into something that feels safe, at least on the surface. Because the deeper you look, the more it starts to feel like they're trying to brainwash everyone around it, even us, the viewers. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why that's dangerous. The episode starts with the late shift at Krusty Krab. SpongeBob is cleaning the restaurant after a long day's work. Squidward's there too, obviously hating everything that moves. Just a normal day at the Krusty Krab. Until Squidward finds something quite familiar. A Krabby Patty that's old, gray, and covered in mold. It's the Nasty Patty all over again. But just when Squidward's about to throw it out, SpongeBob stops him, says it's wrong to throw away a Krabby Patty. The man clearly didn't learn anything from his last food romance, or from Mr. Krabs' near-death experience with the Flying Dutchman. So he takes one bite, and instantly regrets every decision he's ever made. He turns green, stomach gurgling, and barely holding it together. And just as he runs out back to recover, something comes up. Something we never saw coming. A shadow falls over him. A hairy hand touches his shoulder, and a soft voice asks,
"Are you doing all right there, friend?"
He turns around, and standing there is a giant, fuzzy, Totoro-ish hamster in a necktie. His name is Cuddle E. Hugs. And out of the blue, Cuddle says he's SpongeBob's new best friend. Of course, SpongeBob, being SpongeBob, accepts this instantly. Just immediate, unconditional love. And just like Cuddle's sudden appearance, the story itself suddenly jumps. Now we're seeing a montage of them having fun over the Best Day Ever soundtrack. It almost feels wholesome. Almost. But here's where the story gets uncomfortable real quick. Everyone around them is just staring with these weird, almost concerned looks in their eyes. Look, a mother won't let her children watch SpongeBob and Cuddle tickling each other in the park. Something is clearly wrong here. Even when SpongeBob brings Cuddle back home, Gary gives him the same concerned look. Like, "You good, bro?" But SpongeBob doesn't pay any attention to those concerns. He's just having fun with his new best friend. Too happy to question it. Little does he know, this ignorance is going to cost everyone later. The next morning, Cuddle's gone, but the bed's clearly trashed, exactly how it is the night before. He tried asking Gary, but the snail just gave him the same response. So, in despair from losing his new best friend, SpongeBob decides to eat his moldy Krabby Patty once again to ease his sorrow. Because that's what normal people do when they're sad, consume something toxic. And sure enough, right on cue, Cuddle reappears. By this point, it's a no-brainer to say this huge, fluffy hamster has something to do with the foul sandwich. Hallucination or not, SpongeBob's clearly hooked. But we don't have to wonder for too long, because the next scene makes it all clear. Every time SpongeBob introduces Cuddle to someone, Squidward, Patrick, or Sandy, they all just stare in confusion. There's nothing there. Even Patrick calls him out for hugging thin air. Can I just say, you know something's wrong when Patrick sounds more reasonable than you?
SpongeBob's my best friend! Mine!
Okay, maybe not that reasonable, but still, point stands. And at first, it's funny. Oh, SpongeBob's on another imaginary friend chapter today. But the longer he spends with Cuddle, the more his friends start to look like the crazy ones. By now, SpongeBob is clearly dependent on moldy patties. He misses Cuddle when he's gone, he gets anxious, and the second he eats another bite of that old patty, Cuddle comes right back. Bigger, brighter, sweeter. Like a hit. Then Cuddle drops the line that changes everything. He says SpongeBob's friends can't see him because they haven't eaten the magic sandwich. If that's not a clear reference to magic mushroom, I don't know what is. The episode wastes no time to escalate the story. SpongeBob immediately goes back to the Krusty Krab, pulls out the rotten patty, chops it up into pieces, and starts handing it out for free. To everyone. Customers, friends, even Mr. Krabs. And they all eat it. Because SpongeBob calls it aged, like it's some kind of fancy wagyu. And because, well, free food works better than peer pressure ever will. Then everyone starts reacting the same way. nausea, dizziness, and then, just like SpongeBob, they see him. The giant, smiling, Totoro-esque hamster that was never really there. Now visible to everyone. And the moment that happens, the tone of the entire episode changes. They're all admiring Cuddle, all hugging him with big smiles. Now the whole restaurant shares the same trippy experience instead of just judging SpongeBob. And I'll admit, there's a moment where it almost feels wholesome. Everyone in Bikini Bottom happy for once, smiling, laughing, snuggling into the big fuzzy creature like they've been waiting for this moment their whole lives. SpongeBob just stands there, glowing, proud of himself, like he finally fixed whatever was wrong with the world. Except, he didn't fix it. He just dragged everyone into the same trip that he's on. And just when you think the plot couldn't get any weirder, Cuddle starts eating people. He devours them one by one, and the show plays it like a dream sequence, like it's still pretending everything's fine. SpongeBob tries to stop it, but it's too late. Everyone's already gone. The only person who still sees this as wrong is Squidward. He's just standing there, flabbergasted at seeing everyone tripping and stacking themselves onto each other. I would have done the same. Ironically, from SpongeBob's perspective, this is where the hallucination betrays him. It stops being comforting and shows its real shape. Cuddle E Hugs is the infection itself. The voice that tells you that everything's okay while it's already eating you alive. And then, just like that, the night's gone out of control. Morning comes, everyone wakes up on the floor, dizzy, angry, and hungover from the hallucination. The Krusty Krab is trashed. Nobody remembers what happened, just that they feel used. Everyone leaves SpongeBob behind at the end. And in the silence that follows, SpongeBob does something terrifyingly simple. He pulls the last piece of the rotten patty from his pocket and eats it. He just wants an answer from his best friend. And for a moment, he gets it. Cuddle appears, smiling, laughing like nothing ever happened. He even jokes about the night before, said it's only normal because Eats is his middle name. Yes, Cuddle, Eat, Hugs is the name of the hamster. Which ironically is also the only things you want to do when you're high. But before he can say anything else, SpongeBob gives Cuddle a taste of his own medicine. Cuddle starts to choke, his colors drain, and we cut to a little girl's bedroom. The walls covered in SpongeBob merch as Cuddle wakes up screaming. And that's the final twist. Turns out the real Cuddle E Hugs was tripping too off his own pellets. That's where it ends. Cuddle's gone, SpongeBob's alone, and we're left confused. Like we've just woken up from a bad dream we can't remember. At this point, we all know that the episode is about an accidental trip, but there's a lot worse things happening than just being high. At first glance, this all feels like a food joke gone too far. SpongeBob eats something rotten, starts seeing things, and drags everyone into his mess. And while it's true, the mold itself is the one tiny detail that drives the whole story. But then the real danger in this story is about how easy it is to drag everyone into your experience without knowing it. One single idea, once planted, can change the way you see the world. The mold acts as more as a metaphor for how thoughts spread. You take in something small, something strange, and it grows into your mind until you can't tell what's good or bad anymore. And once SpongeBob shares that belief, it starts spreading fast. All SpongeBob needs to do is put some fancy name on it and start handing it out for free. But really, he's just spreading his own sickness, or should I say, his own trip. Now, to be fair, there's a real-world reference for this idea. Some fungus can indeed release chemicals that mess with perception. Historians even believe magic bread that was popular in the Middle Ages came from grain contaminated with ergot, the same fungus that inspired LSD centuries later. People would see things, hear voices, even experience group-wide visions. Sound familiar? But what this episode captures better than anything else is how psychological contagion works. You can actually catch an emotion, a belief, even a behavior, just by being around someone who feels it strongly enough. It's how mass hysteria starts, or how cults grow. One person's certainty becomes everyone's truth. It's the same phenomenon psychologists call folie à deux, or madness of two, just like what happens with Joker and Harley Quinn. Except this time, It's the madness of a whole restaurant. What's more disturbing is that the moment everyone starts seeing Cuddle E hugs, they stop questioning reality. They don't ask why it's happening or what may have caused it, they just accept it, because everyone else is doing the same thing. Modern SpongeBob's tone has always leaned on exaggerated positivity, the kind that almost demands you smile along with it, despite the gruesome things that happen in the background. And for better or worse, this episode pushes that to an extreme. A literal monster made of affection that devours anyone who gives in. But hey, at least the writers give them a good reason to smile through it this time, right? You could think of it like a psychological trick that's used everywhere, from something like advertising to social media. Just repeat something warm, familiar, and harmless enough times, and your brain stops asking questions. You start craving comfort instead of clarity. You also never notice if you're being shaped by it. And that's the most effective way of brainwashing. The episode never shows anyone being forced into it. This is not some evil plan from Plankton. He never appears in the episode. They all choose to believe because it feels good to. The more you think about this episode, the darker it gets. The plot is so much more than SpongeBob just being dumb. SpongeBob never meant any harm. He just wants his friends to understand him. He wants them to see what he sees without realizing it's what broke him in the first place. The poor sponge never knew a mere food contamination could also contaminate reality. If you take the comedy away, that's actually pretty disturbing. It's surprisingly easy to give up reality when something feels safe, soft, and familiar. In fact, Cuddle E Hugs isn't scary because he resembles a monster. He's scary because he's so nice to everyone. And in that sense, this is one of the rare SpongeBob episodes where comfort becomes horror. By the end, it doesn't even matter that Cuddle isn't real. He's real enough to brainwash everyone who believed in him. And once you've seen something like that, you can't unsee it, even when the trip's over. This episode is a good example of how you don't need a conspiracy or a time machine to make reality fall apart. Sometimes all it takes is one idea that feels good enough to believe in. But funny enough, this isn't the first time Bikini Bottom collapsed under something they couldn't see. In another episode, one I've talked about before, the past itself got rewritten and no one, not even us, could tell what was real anymore. Let's just say it's another trippy SpongeBob journey. And trust me, if you thought this episode messed with your head, that one might make you question your memories of SpongeBob entirely. So yeah, maybe SpongeBob never meant to brainwash people. But once he didn't just take Bikini Bottom down with him, he took us too. See you on the next dive.